I'm Zack Snyder, and my zombies run. They don't shamble. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. So, Army of the Dead is Zack Snyder's latest movie. It is about a zombie outbreak, not a zombie apocalypse. It's a zombie outbreak that only occurs in Las Vegas. Is limited to the city limits of Las Vegas, right? Um, and it follows. The synopsis is it follows a group of these survivors, the people who initially survived the initial outbreak, now outside of the city, living their lives, but not living very good lives. They have now been propositioned to go back into the quarantine zone, into the zombie zone, if you will, the double Z, because to go get a bunch of money. So that's their incentive, that's their motivation. So Batista's character now has to gather the A team, gather the Avengers, gather the team to a team of experts, ragtag experts, to go into the city and get this money because it'll change all their lives. Now, Army of the Dead doesn't do anything new, and it doesn't try to pretend as though it's doing something new, which is understandable. But it also does act like it comes across as though it's trying to be something fresh, but it's not. It ends up being frustrating because it plays with a lot of pretty interesting ideas and doesn't go anywhere with them. Interesting ideas like the coyotes. Now, in our world, a coyote is somebody who smuggles people from Mexico or other countries into America. Mexico, they're called coyotes. From Mexico into our world. In this movie, the coyote is someone who smuggles people in from the good zone, that's the rest of the world, the rest of America, into the quarantine zone, Las Vegas. Very interesting idea. So, so this movie once again does a lot of familiar things, right? It's a zombie outbreak. Features a ragtag group of people. We've seen that before, and the main guy used to be in the army. We've seen that before. It's hard to really make those things unique, those aspects, those zombie movie genre tropes. It's hard to make them, to redefine them, because who else would be able to survive in such a situation? Except for someone who's extremely capable, extremely proficient at fighting, right? Like a military vet. If it was a movie about a regular guy surviving a zombie apocalypse, it would be 28 Days Later. So we've seen that. So this movie does everything. It's pretty generic, and it doesn't shy away from that, which I appreciate. Something really clever it does, right, with acquainting the audience with the world, like really grounding us into what it's doing, is in the opening scene, which is this, and the title sequence, which is a montage of practically every zombie movie you've ever seen. I thought that was clever. So you're situated in the world very quickly because of the way this first 20 minutes plays out and the title sequence. This was pretty genius to me. I was like, oh, wow, yeah, like, great, I get it. There's nothing new here. We've seen this before. This is a great way to put us into the world. And what that suggests to the audience, or to an audience member like me, is that, okay, this movie is trying to get past all the things we regularly associate with zombie movies and wants to show us something new or show us something fresh, or it has a unique story to tell. It doesn't. It doesn't. It has an annoying story to tell. So it does that, and that might be the best part of the movie. I actually think that is the best part of the movie, the title sequence and this opening sequence, because this opening sequence harkens back to Evil Dead, the Evil Dead movies, Evil Dead 1 and 2 and 3, mostly 2 and 3, because in those movies the zombie outbreak starts with a military convoy losing delicate cargo, the losing, or somehow through an accident or through somebody's stupidity, the zombie goo goes into the water supply, or in this case, on the military convoy, they're actually carrying like patient zero or zombie zero, the very first zombie. So that's what's happening in this movie, right? So it's very much harkens back to those classic zombie movies. I was like, yeah, this is great. I really enjoy that. And then right after this, it goes into that amazing sequence that I previously mentioned. Great start, but I assure you, these elements of the movie are the best part. That's the best part of the movie. Other than that, it just goes downhill. So what else does this movie do that's similar to other zombie movies? Like it's very similar to the recently released Train to Busan Peninsula. Right, the original Train to Busan was a is a much better movie in my opinion. Was a straight up zombie horror movie, just harrowing. And because of the familial relationship, it had a lot of emotional power. Like when the dad finally died, and the daughters, it was just great. It was really emotionally impactful. This movie doesn't have any of that, even though it tries to do some of that. So this movie is more like Train to Busan Peninsula, where it's a sequel to Train to Busan, where a bunch of ragtag people who are very capable or who are kind of scumbags in the real world have been propositioned to go back into the zombie zone, the double Z, if you will, the quarantine zone, because of monetary incentives. Because there's a bunch of money there, some people want them to go get it, and then they get a share, and everything goes awry, of course. That's exactly what Army of the Dead is. Batista and his group of friends that he has to gather together are being sent back into the quarantine zone because there's $50 million, and they're being propositioned by Scorpion. So all that is well and good. It's fine. It's great. I don't expect anybody to reinvent the wheel. I expect a competent movie, and this movie is competent, but it is still infuriating. It is still infuriating because it doesn't really know what it is. Because as I mentioned before, it comes across as something very regular, something very ordinary with regard to the zombie genre. But then it also tries to present itself as offering something new. As I mentioned, through the very first 20 minutes, it does this thing of telling you, okay, this is a zombie movie, and it's actually starting like most of the classic zombie movies, like Evil Dead 2 and 3. And the zombie sequence also informs you that, hey, we know this. I'm not going to waste any of the main runtime of the movie trying to establish that this city is overrun by zombies. I'm just going to do that in the credits, the opening credits, me being Zack Snyder, of course. And then, so it doesn't do anything special after that, because right after that, you get the proposition, and after that, Batista has to get his team together. So Batista, this is where things start to go awry. Batista has an estranged daughter who's working as a refugee volunteer at the refugee camp surrounding the Las Vegas city limits, because it's now a quarantine area and people have been displaced. They don't have homes, so they have to live in this refugee camp where Batista's daughter is a volunteer. So he's estranged from his daughter, right? They don't have a good relationship, right? And the reason why is stupid, doesn't make any sense, and it isn't worth any amount of runtime of this movie. It shouldn't be in the movie, all right? Okay, and the movie dwells on it, and it's part of the reason why this movie is like it's not as good as it should be, and it borders on being infuriating. So they go down. So they go down, and so Batista has to reconnect with his daughter, because she has connections to get into the quarantine zone, right? So this makes sense. Okay, great. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, man, I want to know why these people, why this father and daughter are estranged, right? So he goes there, and they have a little bit of a tiff, and then she agrees to help them. Now, earlier on, it's been established that Batista's daughter has this friend who has two daughters, and they showed them earlier on, they're friendly, whatever, and the friend says that she wants to go back into the quarantine zone with the help of a coyote. Now, in our world, a coyote is somebody who smuggles people from Mexico into our city, into America. And in Army of the Dead, a coyote is somebody who smuggles people from our city, from the real world, from the zombie-free world, zombie-free America, into the quarantine zone, which is interesting. So Batista's daughter agrees to help because of her connections to get them in. But as they're about to go into the quarantine zone, she finds out that her friend that I mentioned before has gone into the zone despite Rachel, whatever her name is, which is Batista's daughter, despite her warning her not to do that. So she goes in anyway, and because of this, Batista's daughter decides that she's going to join Batista's team to go into the quarantine zone to rescue this woman. Now, this woman is not a relative of hers, right? We only got one scene of her and this woman, right? And I guess that scene was supposed to be enough to show that they had a really strong relationship. But nonetheless, it wasn't strong enough to convince me that it was somebody that you would go into a zombie city, a zombie ridden city, right? To rescue. This is not your wife, your husband, this is not your child. This is just a friend, right? Not a husband, not anything. So it didn't make any sense when Batista's daughter decided to join the mission. Didn't make any sense, didn't believe it. But anyway, there she is. But we all know why she's going in on this mission. It's because the movie doesn't know how to properly create drama, because it's forcing the issue. It's forcing us to watch, but it's forcing Batista and his estranged daughter together. That's what it's doing. So there will be some kind of familial drama, and right off the bat, it's already falling on his face, and it just gets worse for the rest of the movie. So her motivation for going into the zombie infested city is to rescue her friend. Now, so they go into the city, and man, this movie has good elements. I'm not saying this movie is terrible. This movie is competently done, and the pacing is great, at least for the first 25 minutes. The pacing is perfect. I'm like, yeah, let's go, man, because we've kind of seen it all before when it comes to zombie movies. So this movie was moving, wasn't wasting time in any scene whatsoever. So, but all that changes as soon as they cross the border. As soon as they cross the border into the quarantine zone, which is what this guy is doing with the cargo containers here. They wall off the zombie zone from the rest of America, which is all these containers here. This acts as the wall, the border. So as soon as they cross this wall, this damn border, the movie freezes. It literally stops to a crawl, right? The pacing is broken because they have to now explain the world of the zombies. They have to now, because they see a zombie tiger, which has a lot of issues that I'm going to get to. All right, a zombie tiger, right? So they see a zombie tiger, and the coyote, right? The female coyote, who smuggles people from the city, the non-quarantine zone, into the zombie city, the double Z, the zombie zone, the quarantine zone, starts telling the cast about the zombie world, because who knows about it better than them. Now, this is kind of palatable. This is kind of believable, kind of acceptable, because she's the only one who would know. But once again, the movie starts breaking here. It literally breaks here because the pacing is broken compared to the rest of the movie. From this sequence to the opening sequence to the to the opening sequence, right? Everything has been, and even to the sequences where Batista was gathering the team, everything was pretty punchy, fast-paced. But then it gets to this scene where they cross the border and everything stops, and this coyote literally starts explaining the zombie world to the cast. And it's kind of interesting, okay? It's interesting because I was intrigued. This is not a regular zombie world. In this zombie world, you have the Shamblers. That's the regular zombies we all know in all the zombie movies, all the zombie shows. And then we have the alphas. They call them the alphas, which is what has been introduced in this very first 15 minutes that was released for everybody to watch on YouTube, right? The alphas are faster, stronger, more intelligent, and organized. So that's what this coyote is explaining to the cast, right? Because apparently none of them knew this. Nobody else knows this apart from the coyote. So she explains this to them, that they have to make an offering. So she offers one of the like the asshole refugee camp officer who was hassling Batista's daughter initially. So he's easily painted as the bad guy right away. You know that this guy's a bad guy. So you're supposed to be okay with him getting shot and being offered as a sacrifice to the alphas by the coyote. You're supposed to be okay with that because he was apparently a rapist in the refugee camp. So that's what happens, and he gets taken, and she says they have to make this offering because they can't just do what they want. This is not a quarantine zone. It's literally a zombie kingdom. So with this offering, they will allow them, the zombie alphas will allow them to do what they came for. And this is also where we meet the zombie queen, which is a female zombie, you know, whatever. She's agile and whatever, just like the alphas I mentioned. So so they go on this mission, and literally the movie just turns to crap here. Like it stops being interesting. They do a whole bunch of zombie stealth, avoiding zombies who are just standing still, who are asleep and standing still, and then they get to the casino where the vault is to get all the money. But everything goes awry because the guy that was sent with the team, who works for the guy who sent them, Scorpion, this guy's an asshole, and he cuts off the zombie queen's head because that's really what he came for. Like, apparently, the guy who sent them on this mission, Scorpion, doesn't care about the money. He's only there to get the zombie DNA by way of cutting off the zombie woman's head, the zombie queen's head. Once again, a zombie trope, a trope we've seen in a lot of movies like this, like Resident Evil, right? Like weaponizing the virus or whatever created the zombies. So that's what, and I'm not mad at that. That's what this movie is doing as well. So it's because of this that the zombie king gets mad. Spoiler alert, the zombie queen is pregnant. Somewhat interesting, but doesn't go anywhere. It is only used as motivation for the zombie king to get angry and come after the team because his queen has now been killed, and by way his child is also being killed. So he's now angry and is out to kill the the team with his super zombies, right? And I guess it was once again that's the only reason that exists. The pregnancy of the zombie queen and the alphas being somewhat different. So it's only used as a way to get them involved in the fight when she is killed by the asshole guy sent by Scorpion. And the reason they do this is because, as I said, this movie comes across or presents itself as, hey, this is a zombie movie, don't expect too much. It's, whatever. But we're also going to try to do something new because I'm Zack Snyder and my zombies run. They don't shamble, right? So this is the way to get those zombies into the fight. And the reason why they had to do the whole offering thing, the whole sacrificing the refugee camp officer thing in the first place was because it was too early to have the super alpha zombie horde to attack the team right away because the movie will be over pretty quickly. So they had to delay that aspect until later, which is why they had the whole plot element of the sacrifice, killing of the zombie queen to get the zombie king and the alpha zombies involved. Because while this is just to run this was to pad out the runtime of the movie because the zombie alphas they don't care about what the team is doing, so the team can go around and some of them can die in the process of the movie moving along. And it isn't until the zombie queen is killed, the pregnant zombie queen is killed, that now the movie can really start. The alpha, the king, and all his alpha zombies now attack the team because they're super fast because it's a Zack Snyder zombie movie, right? So it's just a plot device, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go any further than that. So my problems with the movie is Batista's daughter. So apart from her being the annoying, I'm feisty, I don't take bullshit from anybody, just whatever, just always bitch face kind of girl. I'm mad at my father for some stupid ass reason. She is now with the team, and while these super zombies are attacking, that's when she decides, or rather, when, because they're there to get some money, right? So there's this safe guy who comes on the mission because he really likes breaking into safes. Scratch that. He really loves it. That's why he joins this mission. And I guess for the money incentive as well. So when they finally open the safe, everybody's happy. Batista's daughter takes this as an opportunity to go look for her lost friend. Now, this is a girl, maybe in her 20s, definitely in her early 20s, right? Who decides she's going to go in a zombie infested city. She's going to go off on her own, to go find her friend. And I've already established that her reason for joining the team, the mission, was stupid in the first place. It wasn't believable. Now, this extra unbelievable thing happens with her going off and leaving the security of a bunch of competent zombie fighters to go and look for her friend in a city full of super zombies. And because of that, guess what happens? Batista now has to go after her. So just because of all these contrived reasons, right? These contrived, forced plot devices, right? Inorganic devices, story narrative devices, very inorganic, doesn't work whatsoever. And because writing is rewriting, and writing is mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2 in writing, they have to follow through on these things. So because of that, the movie just starts falling on its face. Just like dominoes, just goes downhill. So this stupid girl decides that she's going to go off by herself in Super Zombie City to go find her friend, not her daughter, not her kid, not her boyfriend, not her husband, not her father, not her brother, her friend, right? Now Batista now has to go after her while they're being attacked by a bunch of super zombies. You know, I was enjoying this movie, man. As I said, the first 25 minutes are awesome. And then it just started getting infuriating. Which in turn made all the flaws so much more visible. Like the safe guy I mentioned. You know, like, as I said, as I mentioned before, the movie maintains a goofy tone, just like the movie it's kind of paying homage to. The movies it's kind of paying homage to, like Evil Dead 2 and 3. Those are particularly more comedic than Evil Dead 1, right? Which is more allegorical and more of a darker, serious tone. Evil Dead 2 and 3 are comedic movies, and they start exactly the same way. Not exactly. They're definitely like specific things that are different. But it starts with a military convoy, just like this movie. And I'm like, great. You know, zombie movie aficionados, zombie movie fans will love this. They get it. And it's a great way to access the narrative. And then it has this great opening, which is a way, which for me, it was informing me that, hey, man, you know what this is. It's a zombie movie. So we're gonna fast forward through all the things that you know, and are probably bored of when it comes to zombie movies, which is a horde of zombies attacking people, city to city up in flames, stuff like that. The government reacting. They do all that in the credits, in the opening credits of the movie. So great, but right after that, once you see that, you feel like, okay, I'm in store for some fun here. But right after that, it also does something that's pretty familiar. It literally becomes Train to Busan, right? Where they're propositioned to go back into the quarantine zone to go get, because of some money, right? Incentivized by some money, right? And just like Train to Busan, it falls apart. Like Train to Busan is better than this movie. This movie's, but it's not as strong as, Train to Busan Peninsula, the second one. So Train to Busan Peninsula is better than this movie. Because this movie is like a weaker version of Train to Busan, and it's just all over the place. So it does that with the daughter, which just pisses me off. And this is a major point of the movie. So so given all the things I just talked about, and we arrive at this point after you're expecting, okay, this is going to be interesting. Then you get that, and it's not believable. So it starts shattering your suspension of disbelief, right? You're like, oh my god, okay, I can't. I'm not as into this as I used to be. And all the characters just start dying in all kinds of weird, just offhand, blasé, careless ways, right? And and it's finally, of course, it gets down to Batista and the Alpha, the King, in a showdown, right? And it does some pretty annoying things there because he has to go rescue his daughter. They have to get a helicopter. They have to use a helicopter. That's why they have the helicopter woman who's part of the team. And there's a helicopter on top of the casino where the safe is, and she has to fix the helicopter, get it ready so they can bring the money up. But that doesn't happen because they're set upon by the super zombies, so they have to leave all the money behind and go up to. And it's just Batista and the Coyote now, right? So they go up to the helicopter and they fly off. Well, the Coyote is killed by the Alpha, and it's now Batista and Helicopter Woman. And he tells Helicopter Woman, yo, my daughter ran away. Let's go get her. They go to the other place, which is the Alpha's headquarters. That's where he has kept this Batista's daughter's friend. She's in the headquarters, just there. So they go there. Batista goes there with Helicopter Woman to go rescue the Batista's daughter. And somehow they're in a helicopter, right? This might sound nitpicky, but it's not, because all the shortcomings of the movie have become so much more apparent because of earlier misfires that I've already mentioned with the daughter and so on. So they're in a helicopter racing over, which I guess is just a few miles within the same city, in a helicopter to go to the Alpha's base, the Alpha King's base. But somehow the Alpha beats them there. You see it in the scene. The helicopter's here, and the Alpha is on horseback. The last time we saw the Alpha, he was on the roof with the helicopter and Batista, a Helicopter Woman. They are flying away, and the Alpha's on the roof with them because he kills Coyote Girl. But now they're racing. Alpha King is on his horse, and he gets there to his base with the helicopter and Batista at the same time. And just like that, more and more. And all of this is to make sure Batista and the Alpha King have a showdown. That's why, and it's forcing it. It's inorganic, thereby uninteresting. Right? But by this point, I've lost interest in the movie. The movie just becomes pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. So, of course, they have a showdown in the helicopter because the Alpha makes it up to the roof. And it's unsatisfying because in the first place, it wasn't Batista that killed the Alpha's queen. It was Scorpion's assistant who accompanied the team, because that was his goal all along. So it's not satisfying. He gets killed by the fucking zombie tiger. Oh, so what's my beef with the zombie tiger? If there's a zombie tiger, it raises too many questions because, okay, does this zombie tiger, just like a regular tiger would, attack regular human beings? Like a tiger would attack you, like if it's hungry or whatever, it will just fuck you up. That's a tiger. But the zombie tiger doesn't attack other zombies. It just attacks human beings. This might sound crazy or nitpicky, but hey, man, that just makes sense to me. That's why. Then why should you have a zombie tiger in your movie? Because it raises too many questions. But it's Zack Snyder, and I'm starting to notice these things about Zack Snyder. Like his movies just, I don't get his style. Like he just does things, and his movies suffer because of them. You know, he did this in Sucker Punch, and he's done this with Batman v Superman because he made Batman kill and all things like that. He just does. They make Superman super dark. He just does these things that really sucks for the end product of his movies. And I don't know. It's just a quirk of his. So Zombie Tiger sucks because it raises too many questions, way too many questions, and yeah, Zombie Tiger that doesn't kill zombies, whatever. So Zombie Tiger is the one that kills Scorpion's assistant, right? Meanwhile, Scorpion's assistant that cuts off the Alpha Queen's head. So it's not satisfying when the Alpha King faces off with Batista, because they really don't have anything to do with each other. They really don't have anything to do with each other. But because Batista is the main guy of this movie, they have to face off. Because Batista's the main guy and the Alpha King is the main bad guy. They now have to face off. But it's inorganic. It doesn't work. It's unsatisfying. So anyway, they face off in this helicopter. Oh, by the way, this movie does a lot of competent things, and it raises it explores some interesting points, but they don't go anywhere, like the coyote and so on. Um, an element of good story writing is raising the stakes by creating a time limit. Subconsciously, you might not notice it. Sorry, consciously you might not notice it. A lot of movies have time limits to set fire underneath the protagonist's ass and to intensify the suspense, right? And this movie gives a time limit because the president is looking to bomb Las Vegas with a tactical nuke by the end of the next day, right? So these guys have a time limit to accomplish their mission, to get into Las Vegas, get the money, and get out. But then when they make it to the safe, on the news is also cartoonish as hell. On the news, it is said that the reporter says that, oh, the president has decided to move it up to the end of the day, that same day that the mission is going on. Whatever, for some reason. So now, oh, we're supposed to be a lot more stressed now because all of a sudden the movie just decided to ramp up the time and shorten the deadline, to bring the deadline closer, right? So Batista and the bad guy, Alpha King, are fighting on the helicopter, and as the helicopter manages to cross the Las Vegas city limits, we can see the tactical nuke flying through the air and about to strike Las Vegas. And, everything blows up and they crash, and Batista manages to kill the Alpha King, but not before the Alpha King, of course, bites Batista. Now, why was Batista and his daughter estranged? In an earlier scene, Batista is having a dream of when he killed his wife. Right? Okay, it's a nightmare, which is understandable. He had to kill his wife because she turned. She turned into a goddamn zombie. Makes sense. Nothing new here. We've seen it all before. But we're also made to believe that this is why his daughter's mad at him. But after they go on the mission and they're within the Las Vegas city limits, within the zombie zone, and they're having the conversation, finally having that conversation, the daughter tells him that, no, Dad, I'm not mad at you because you had to kill Mom because she was a zombie. I understand that. But it's because you never came back. You just disappeared. You never talked about it. You just abandoned us. You were absent because you didn't want to deal with, killing Mom. You just left us. So he was emotionally unavailable. That's why they were estranged. This is bullshit. Don't care. Wasn't believable. So that whole estranged thing was just didn't work. Again, falls flat. Another major element of the movie that did not work. Right? So anyway, I bring that up because, I'm going to reiterate. Batista had to kill his wife because she turned. So now, after the helicopter crashes due to in the wake of the nuclear strike, the helicopter is in the desert, and Batista has been bitten. He has this sappy, emotional scene. It's not emotional at all. It's whack as hell, and it's cheesy and cringe. He has this emotional scene with his daughter, and they talk about how they love, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It's just whack. They reconcile or whatever. And of course he's turning, and his daughter now has to kill him. And I guess that is supposed to harken back to Batista having to kill his wife who turned. So she kills him, and it's supposed to be emotional or whatever. So all the emotional beats, right? All the emotional beats of this movie doesn't work. None of it works. None of it works because the movie is goofy as hell. The tone of the movie is goofy as hell. It's set up goofy. So every time it tries to introduce something dramatic, it doesn't work. It is jarring, and it comes across as cringe and corny and forced and contrived. And that's what happens with this final scene as well, where she's crying and whatever. It just doesn't work. So Batista's dead because he was turning, and she had to kill him. End of that. You would think that's the end of the movie, because when you go into a movie, right, especially a movie like this, any movie, you as an audience member, you try to anchor yourself with some an element of the movie, which is usually the protagonist or an emotional beat, emotional point of the movie that you're supposed to follow through from beginning to end for some kind of catharsis. In this movie, you expect is Batista, right? Or more importantly, it's them getting the money. That's what I was anchored on, right? And of course, there's it's always bittersweet. They're going to get the money and also not get the money, which is what happens, right? That's how movies like this end. I don't know if that's how Train to Busan Peninsula ended, but that's how it ends, right? But it's unsatisfying because the whole money plot just kind of goes downhill right away because they introduce the fact that Scorpion's assistant was there to get the head of the zombie queen all along. Way too early. Way too early. So it completely deflates the whole they're there to get money plot. It just diffuses it. So that loses any kind of emotional, interesting, any kind of power whatsoever, right? So okay, you're now like, okay, what am I here to anchor myself on? Like, what is supposed to anchor me within this movie? What is keeping me here? Is this supposed to be the contrived relationship between Batista and his daughter? Because now that's all we have left. And now it's done, and you didn't feel anything. She kills him because he's turning. Boom. You think that's the end. But no. One of the characters that goes on the mission with Batista is a guy who survived the initial outbreak of the zombie outbreak, whatever, in Las Vegas. With this black guy, he's kind of cool. I like him. He survives, and he's recruited once again by Batista to go on this mission. When the Alpha finds his wife's body, headless body, and goes crazy and goes after the team in the casino, this black guy faces off with the Alpha. He's the first one to face off with the Alpha, and the Alpha completely kicks his ass. But as soon as the Alpha's about to kill this black guy, the nerdy safe guy who loves cracking safes saves this black guy, because throughout the movie they kind of establish a relationship between both of them, but it doesn't work. But that's what the movie's trying to do, to show that these guys don't have they have a rapport, because the black guy starts off hating this nerd because he's like, why are you bringing this nerd? But then they end up liking each other. But it's inorganic, doesn't work, don't care. So this safe guy, because of this supposed relationship they've established throughout the movie between him and this black guy, the philosopher black guy, the safe guy rescues this black guy by throwing him into the safe and locking it up and sacrificing himself. So he gets killed. Safe guy gets killed by the Alpha. Nuke drops, and because the guy is underground in a safe, he is safe. Black guy is safe with all that money. Now after we've seen that, okay, we thought the movie's over. Batista's daughter has killed Batista because he was turning. Fade to black. Oh no, movie's not over. Fade in. Black guy comes up from underground, like no nuclear fallout, whatever. He just comes out. I guess it's a tactical nuke. Comes out from the ground, whatever, with a bunch of bags, like 3 bags are full of money. He survived. Wow. Okay. So the money plot is brought back in, as I mentioned before. Usually with movies like this, where the mission is money, it usually ends with them getting the money, and it goes both ways. It's bittersweet. They get the money and they don't get the money. So this is where we've already witnessed the fact that they didn't get the money, but this is where, okay, we're getting the point that they kind of did get the money as well, right? With this black guy emerging, managing to survive the nuclear strike and everything, and now he has a bunch of money. So I guess it's supposed to be cathartic whatsoever. It isn't. So he gets up and, he has a bunch of money, manages to find a car, finds a car in a shack somewhere outside the city after walking for some time and screaming in the desert. Finds a car and there's keys in it. Everything is just so convenient. Manages to drives to Mexico to a Mexican airport, sees a private jet there, goes into the airport, says he wants to rent the private jet. They say no. Then he shows them a bunch of cash. They say yes. They put him in the plane. He drinks a bunch of champagne and toasts with the flight attendants, and drop some philosophy because he's a philosopher, even though he's jacked as hell and is an action man as well. It's supposed to be like a contrast or whatever to make him interesting. So they do that. They do that, and he's not feeling well. He's not feeling well. He gets up and they help him to the bathroom, and guess what? Guess who has a zombie bite? This guy. This guy also has a zombie bite. Okay? So there's a lot. That's how all these movies usually end. Like somehow the virus continues, propagates, and they can never completely kill the virus. The virus always finds a way to survive. But it's just done so unsatisfying. It is so unsatisfying in this movie. Unbelievably unsatisfying. Because it's already destroyed any kind of interest, at least on my part, with regard to any of the plot lines it's established. Right? Whether it's the Batista trying to reunite with his daughter plot point, which wasn't properly established. You only learn about that like well into the movie. So that's not an initial audience anchor point to anchor them or something for them to attach themselves to follow through throughout the movie, right? So it's not that. Is it the money thing situation? No, because that falls flat, as I mentioned before, as Scorpion's assistant ends up revealing that they're actually there to get the head of the zombie, whatever, zombie DNA to make a zombie army, right? So it's not that. So everything kind of falls flat, and then this happens as well. Oh, they get the money, and this guy also has a zombie bite. And then he smiles and laughs into the camera, whatever, right? So that doesn't work as well. None of it works as well. None of it works. None of it works. The best part of this movie is the first 25 minutes of this movie, where it shows you the very first zombie and how he got loose, the alpha zombie, that, and the opening sequence, which is what we're watching here, that, and Batista rounding up his team like the Avengers. Those are the only three elements that are interesting about Army of the Dead. And then it presents a lot of interesting ideas, but it doesn't follow through with any of them, doesn't properly explore any of them, and any of the other interesting aspects of that it introduces is only used as a plot device to get its characters into situations like the alpha zombies being different from the shamblers because so they're super zombies because Zack Snyder finds it boring to just have his heroes kill regular zombies. So from his perspective, he's heightening the intensity, heightening the action by making his zombies super zombies, right? So the alphas were there, and you think, oh, they're smart, they're organized, and they are there for some. You think this is going to be interesting. I wonder how he's going to use them. No, he does. They're only there, and they're only reintroduced when Zack Snyder has to ramp up the action. Up until they're introduced, when the team crosses into the quarantine zone, it's just biding time. It is just killing time. Nothing really happens. It kills off one of the team members, right? This is that point in the movie, in the story, in the series where some characters have to die, and that's what happens in this point in the movie, right? So he's just buying the time because he can't just have the super zombies attack right away because the movie will be over way too quickly. So that's why that somewhat interesting idea, which is, alpha zombies that can impregnate each other. Whoa, this is interesting. That's the only reason they're there. That's the only reason they're there. To motivate the alpha zombie, the alpha king zombie, to get into the action by giving him a pregnant zombie queen wife. That's the only reason that exists. Somewhat interesting idea, but it's only there as a plot device to get the alpha zombies into the action. So it's a very, very superficial idea, right? Yeah. So this movie really, really started out, written by, this is good, right? I was thinking about that because I was watching YMS's review of Sucker Punch, And yeah, I agree with him. Zack Snyder is only good. In that review, YMS talked about how Zack Snyder isn't really good at writing anything. He should just direct other things, and he's not really that good at that either. But it's true. Like he co-wrote this, and it shows. Like it's really not. It's not written well at all. It's not competent at all. At all. It just falls flat in a lot of places. It's unsatisfying. The conflict is inorganic. So he co-wrote this, and I guess that makes sense because I was thinking about that. Like, did he write this? Because it seems like it's a Zack Snyder written thing, right? Because it really falls short in the writing department. It presents a lot of interesting ideas, and it completely falls short, right? Doesn't follow through with any of them at all. The daughter thing with Batista was just annoying. So it was just all over the place. All over the place. It had the daughter thing, had the Alpha King, had the zombies that can procreate thing, had the money thing, you know. It just had a lot of elements, and it did not stick the landing with regard to any of them. So it's a pretty flaccid experience. Started off well, but by the middle, I was bored as hell. I was bored as hell. So I'm gonna give Army of the Dead a 6.5. That's generous in my opinion. If you've seen it, let me know. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's have an argument about it if you think I'm completely wrong. And tell me what you think about it. Tell me how I got it wrong, and hopefully shed some light on things that I'm missing. If because I'm always open to see new things in a movie, especially ones that I don't consider very good. So hit that like button if you like what I'm talking about. The best way to support the channel is by hitting the subscription button and hitting the notification bell so you know when next I drop a new video. And also, if you don't like what I'm talking about or you completely disagree with me and you hate this video, hit the dislike button so I know what to work on and I can get better for next time, right? And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a society. Peace.